Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ali Raza. I use he, him, his pronouns. I work in the Student Leadership Involvement and Community Engagement Office. Today, I'm serving as a co-host, mostly running the tech and providing support to our incredible, amazing, wonderful facilitators, Kristy Millsapps and Nancy Cowley. I'll go ahead and pass it along to them for any quick introduction they'll do, and then we will go ahead and get started with a video that Kristy and Nancy have prepared.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for attending. I'm Kristy Millsapps. I'm the Assistant to the Director of Operations for Lory Student Center.
And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Even with tech issues, I apologize if my internet cuts out. That's why we recorded ahead of time. I am Nancy Cowley. I am the Environmental Services Manager here at the LSC, and we're just very happy to see as many faces as we can.
So cool. So we will just wait another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll go ahead and begin the video that Kristy and Nancy have prepared. In the meantime, as folks are tuning in and watching the video, please feel free to engage using the chat function. If there are any issues that are transpiring, do not hesitate to directly message myself. If you have any tech issues or any additional capabilities that you are needing, and I will do my best to make sure that that is met. Cool, and we will begin the video momentarily.
Welcome and good afternoon. I'm Nancy Cowley, Environmental Services Manager here at the LSC. Thank you for joining our building, our community, and caring for both. We're really glad you're here. My co-presenter today is Kristy Millsapps.
Hi, I'm Kristy Millsapps. Thanks for joining us. I am the Assistant to the Director of Operations here at Lory Student Center.
All righty. So hopefully we'll give you some really good information today, but first we're going to go over a couple of pointers with Zoom. We know many of you are familiar with Zoom, and maybe a few may be a little less acquainted, so we want to take a moment to go over a couple of those features. On the far left is the microphone. Please keep your microphone on mute during the presentation. At the end, during the question and answer portion of the session, you'll be asked to unmute if you have a question. You're welcome to enter questions, comments, etc. in the chat feature found in the center of the toolbar at any time. We'll address all of these entries in the chat during the Q&A session.
We wanted to share the principles of community screen with you as well. I believe this was touched upon in the introduction section, but we will be introducing it to you throughout our presentation as well.
So environmental services, what in the world does that title mean? The Environmental Services Team, or ES Team for short, performs custodial duties and more. You probably have seen us around, mostly wearing green shirts. The ES Team works 16 hours a day, 7 days a week currently, usually around 8 a.m. to midnight, to maintain the healthy and clean environment within the LSC and the grounds immediately surrounding the student center. And yes, that means snow removal too. This includes traditional janitorial tasks such as mopping, dusting, trash removal, cleaning restrooms, the normal stuff. The job also requires the ES staff to possess an understanding of proper handling and disposal of items from recycling to biological waste. ES members are trained in the proper use and handling of cleaning solutions that are used here, green cleaning practices, and bloodborne pathogen cleanup. In normal and especially current times, awareness and appropriate practices are a must. Customer service and customer interactions are a large part of environmental services technicians' day. ES members often aid customers in wayfinding within the building, campus, and even Fort Collins. Everything from finding a room number or a Band-Aid to giving directions to the nearest steakhouse. Customer interactions and service is a wonderful part of our day. Typical duties the ES team performs in your area of the LSC include removing trash, compost, recycling, vacuuming, dusting, disinfecting offices and meeting spaces. In public areas like the food court and our wonderful lounges, there's trash removal, disinfection, carpet maintenance. It's all part of the routine. Tables in the hallways and food courts are constantly wiped clean and disinfected. Touch points such as door handles, light switches, and elevator buttons, they're disinfected several times throughout the day. Noisier tasks like vacuuming, carpet cleaning, and floor scrubbing with machinery typically occur at night after 7 o'clock so that we can better accommodate our customers who are trying to conduct meetings and study. I often get questions about cleaning products. All the products used to keep the LSC clean are green certified that align with the green initiative the CSU has adopted. The disinfectants used here at the LSC are full spectrum or broad spectrum cleaners. What that means is the product is certified through the EPA to kill many contagions, including HIV, hepatitis, and severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS, including the SARS-CoV-2 strain. You know it better as COVID-19. The disinfectants used at LSC are very fast acting and have very short contact times. Once applied, it takes 30 seconds to 3 minutes for normal disinfection and until completely evaporated dry for a deep disinfection. What is outside the normal cleaning routine? Spills, accidents happen. When they do, we ask that you submit a service request noting the location and the nature of the spill known. The location is really important and the nature of the spill is extremely helpful. By knowing if the spill is soda or a blueberry smoothie, the ES team can arrive to take care of it with the proper tools and cleaners. It saves a lot of time and it's better customer service. If a COVID case is reported from an office, the protocol is to close the office for 72 hours or 3 days from the time the COVID positive individual is present, after which time the ES team will enter the space and disinfect the area. They vacuum, dust, wet wipe everything down, and then spray everything down. It's quite the process. An important note for this type of cleaning, all personal items, paperwork, files, personal electronics, etc., need to be removed. The removal of these items also applies if you call for vermin cleanup. Whether it's a spill, an empty toilet paper dispenser, or something more serious, we ask that you go through the service request system, which we will cover in just a moment. Let me quickly revisit the importance of removing items before disinfection of a space. If you leave important paperwork, electronics like phones and earbuds, that treasured letter from grandma in the area to be disinfected, it will get wet. There's no doubt about it. The final disinfection or disinfectant that is applied is in a spray mist. It's sprayed over the entire area and it clings to everything, so everything will get wet. Take those personal items, protect them, put them in a drawer, put them in a box, take them home, whatever. But protect those items so they don't get wet. One thing we do not do is we do not clean personal items. We also do not clean your computer on your desk or your phone. That is up to you. If you need tips on how to clean these things, what disinfectant to use, please feel free to reach out to me. Contact information for both Kristy and I can be found at the end of the presentation. Now I'm going to turn it over to Kristy and we'll walk through the service request system.
All right, thanks, Nancy. So I'm going to go through creating a service request in the system. So a service request is what comes into us. You're requesting service that needs to be done. Once we receive that request, we will review it, make sure we have all of the information we need, and then we will create a work order that will go to environmental services or our maintenance technicians. So I'm going to go through, show you how to get to that service request screen. So bear with me, I am switching back and forth between a few screens here. So to get to the service request system, you want to go to the Lory Student Center website, which is lsc.colostate.edu. And I'll switch over to that one. So this is the LSC website. When you're on this screen, you want to click the Home tab. When you're on the Home tab, we are located under the LSC operations, and it's you can click on the button or the link that says Submit a Work Order. When you get to this screen, you want to scroll down to the bottom where it says Operations Work Order. You want to click Start a Work Order. That will take you directly to our service request system. And while that's loading here, I just want to explain, this is a work order system or service request system that is used throughout other areas of the campus. Housing and dining, facilities, campus rec, and the Lory Student Center are utilizing the system. So when you get to this page, it's the login screen. You want to enter your e-name and password. So whether you're a student, employee, faculty member, anyone can access this system. So you enter your e-name, password, and then you click login. So we are currently updating this site, but in the meantime, if you have a request to enter, you click this corrective maintenance button. And also just to note, your screen may not look exactly like mine. You may not have some of these features, but everyone will have this corrective maintenance screen. So you click on that link and it pulls you up to the next page, which is where you submit the request. So your name should automatically be filled in here. You do want to go ahead and enter your phone number. That way, if we have any questions, we can contact you. Are you the on-site contact for service? This just means if we have a technician or environmental services that comes to your location to fix an issue, would we be talking to you if we have any questions? Or would there be somebody else on site that may be the best contact? Under building, property, and structure, this is the location of the item that needs to be fixed, whether it's a stain in the carpet, if it's a paper towel dispenser in one of the restrooms that isn't working, even if you're at one of the dining halls and you find an issue that you want to report, you can use this system for it. So in this first portion, you can click on the drop-down menu, or if you know you're in Lory Student Center and that's the area that needs work done, you can just type in Lory Student Center, or you can enter the building number. There's two options here. It's Lory Student Center site or Lory Student Center. You want to choose on Lory Student Center. And then it's asking what floor we're on. So say you're in the slice office and you spilled your coffee on the carpet. So that's level 200, so floor 2. And then the location is the room number. So you may not know slice room number. We're gonna go ahead and just type in slice, and it comes up the slice offices in 210. So this is the exact location of the service that needs to be performed. So we're gonna say there was a coffee spill in the slice office. So you choose that, then you click the next button. This is the issue. So if, again, if we're using the example of there's coffee spilled on the carpet, we would need environmental services to clean that spill up. So we would choose the environmental services button. This is where you would choose the other types of issues, whether it's plumbing, a grounds issue, if your office is too hot or too cold. All of these different options are open for you to choose for any issues that you have for service requests. So then you click the next button. This is the environmental services issues. So this is where you would request for supplies, equipment, missed service, other cleanup. Since it's an additional cleanup from outside of their normal scope, you want to choose other cleanup. This will give you a drop-down box. So in this, you want to be really specific. So when environmental services comes in to clean, they will know the exact area. So they already have the location from the first screen. So on this screen, you want to tell them what happened. So you could type in a note just saying there is a coffee spill in the slice main office area. It is by the reception desk. That way it's specific enough so we know it's a coffee spill, we know it's right in the main office area and it's by the reception desk, so our team knows what they need to clean. So then you click the next button. And it's processing in the system, so you want to wait until you get a review button that will pop up here. If you have any pictures, if you want to show them the exact location, you can upload a file or a picture to show them. And then you want to click review. So this allows you to review the request that you're submitting. You want to make sure your name's correct, phone number's correct, make sure it's a building in the student center, if that's the location of the work that needs to be done. If everything looks correct, then you hit submit. If you do have changes that you need to make, you can go ahead and hit the previous button. Then you can, again, go back, hit previous. You can make your changes there, and then you can always go back and review it again. Just make sure you hit submit. That way it does get to us, so we know that there's a request coming into us. So when you hit the submit button, I will go back to the presentation side. It will send you a notification that looks like this, just saying we received your request. We will review it and let you know if we have any additional questions. If there's an emergency, contact us immediately at this phone number, 491-4284. That will come directly to me so we can get somebody to handle that situation immediately if needed. Otherwise, you will receive this email when we approve the request. It will update in the system saying that the request has been opened, and then we assign it to one of our technicians, and we will get that work done for you. And then when the work is complete, you will receive an email saying that the work is complete, and so we're closing the work order out. So as I said, we are currently in the process of changing the tile so it looks a little more user-friendly. This is just a sample of what it may look like. We don't have this completed yet, but instead of clicking the corrective maintenance tile, you would be able to click on the specific issue based on the picture. So this is our upcoming look. This would be the environmental services tab. But again, we are currently making changes to this. So I believe that's all we have for this presentation. We're going to open it up to any questions. And again, here's our contact information if you want to reach out to us. And Nancy, do you have any other final input?
I don't. I just wanted to once again thank everybody for being there, and thank you to Emily for putting all this together. It's a lot of work.
All right, thank you, everyone.
All right, well, just as I said, for the record, that was not Mike's desk, and there was not really a coffee spill for Pam's. Any questions that came up? Any comments? Let's see. For staff working on the floor, not at a computer, are you okay with us continuing to use radios to make requests? If it's something immediate, yes, that's fine. Follow it up with a request so that we can track that if there's anything that needs to be tracked.
Definitely on that side too, if it is an emergency, feel free just to go on the radio and let us know to meet you at a certain point or something, and then we can get the techs or environmental services involved right away. And then we can always go in on the back end and enter that service request into the system just for tracking purposes.
I'm seeing some texts come through.
Nancy,
Oh, you're welcome, Fran. You're so sweet.
Nancy and Kristy, I have a question for you, and maybe Jarrell and others as well while you're here. What's been the most challenging aspects for you during COVID that is unique or different or called to attention, other challenges that you and your team experience?
You got something, Kristy?
Go ahead. You have input, Nancy.
Okay. Probably for the ES team, the biggest challenge is the new protocol. You know, knowing that we have to use certain cleaning solutions for certain types of things. With the whole COVID piece, we have completely changed the disinfectants that we've been using so that we made sure that we were EPA compliant, just keeping everybody safe. The other piece of that is if somebody calls and says, oh, well, we might have a COVID case, it's so instinctual for us to say, okay, we'll be right there. But to keep everyone safe, we have to, number one, confirm, and number two, keep that shut down to help kill the virus. And so that's been kind of a paradigm shift for customers and for our team alike.
I think the other challenge we've had is just keeping up with supplies. I know we were trying to order in enough gloves the other day, and we didn't have enough on hand. We have some on hand, but we couldn't order any additional supplies in. So that's probably the other challenge, just keeping up with everything there. I think the wipes, we have a lot of those on hand. It was the gloves that we went through a lot more than what we anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we have a question from Fran in the chat, and then I know Pamela has her hand raised as well. Fran asks, thanks for keeping the building clean and operational. Does that count for shattered glass as far as the radio use, if I'm understanding that correctly?
Yes, Fran, you would call me directly or call over the radio. Either way, that hasn't changed. And then Pam, if you want to unmute and pose your question.
Hi, it's so good to see you all, and thank you for offering this session during SHAPE. My question is, you know, every time I've come into the Student Center since COVID, I feel like, quite honestly, I could eat off the floor. It's so clean. Um, and I'm not kidding. I actually really do feel like I could do that. But one of the things that's kind of running through my mind whenever I hear people talk about vaccines and the possibility of getting to come back to work and school and into restaurants and that sort of thing is, I'm kind of curious what protocols you now have seen be put into place that you may want to keep post-pandemic. Are there things that are on your mind, I guess, that are like, ooh, now that we've done such and such or changed this way that we do it, we may want to stick with this. And maybe that's also me being a little hopeful to talk about things that are post-pandemic, just to keep the optimism going. So I'm just curious if you all have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, the new work order system, I would like to see that stay as the primary, with emergencies coming over the radio or coming to the supervisor's cell phone, whether it's myself, Brian, or Jarrell. As opposed to word of mouth. There was a lot of word of mouth that happened before we got the work order system in place. So that's been really helpful getting through this. And that was in the works long before COVID. So thank goodness for that. The other piece would be with COVID, flu, things like that, is keeping that same protocol in place to keep everyone safe. So otherwise, you know, other than hours changing and a few of the cleaning solutions changing, our routine has been the same. We're still pulling trash, we're still cleaning offices, we're still cleaning up spills. So the ES team hasn't really taken that time off that a lot of the building has. I think I counted up the other day that we had a total of 6 days that we took off total when the building was closed down.
I think on the maintenance side too, with furniture, whenever we've been moving furniture around, I think it's great to track it in the work order system. That way we know if it's been moved and our team knows where it goes as well. I know we've had some of that moving around to make sure we're in compliance with the 6 feet. So I think the service request system, work order system has been very beneficial in that. As far as maintenance side, I don't know that there's much that would change for them. I think they've been doing about the same work that they were pre-COVID.
And by all means, I know I've got some of my ES team in this session. If any of you want to pipe up and just say, you know, something that you've noticed that's changed that you want to keep, please do so.
Hello, I guess you all can hear me. I guess I was trying to stay quiet, but I was didn't want to be ruin everybody. But I would say let me get this second. I'll actually share my so you see that I'm here in the room. So hello everyone. So basically well, practicing, or I think it'd be better if I could speak without this on, but yeah, generally we definitely seen the changes. A lot of what Nancy and Kristy said is very correct. And I know some of the students that in there, like Rachel, she agrees. We definitely have seen a lot of, I would say there's been a lot of, yeah, definitely a lot more stuff. But then at the same time, because of things have been, you know, kind of closed, it kind of, you could say it hasn't really bounced, but it kind of bounced somewhat. I'm sorry, and as you see, we're still constantly working. Yes, you can go on your break. Thank you very much. As you can see, we're constantly working, even on the weekends, just you know, keep the place sanitized and just you know, ready for everybody. You know, even today. So yeah, I would say a lot of they're saying, I can't really repeat what they're saying. I mean, they pretty much said most of the changes. And then we're just, like I said, we're just getting used to just the new changes to scheduling, and even how we and when we kind of did things, I guess you can say. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say too much. I'll just let you all continue.
Thank you, Jarrell. Pam, one other thing that has been super helpful is shortening those building hours. We can get so much more done with disinfection and things like that, because we're actually going into every meeting space, the study rooms, the classrooms, and we're cleaning them, and then we're spraying them down with that disinfectant. I can't talk today. Every night. And we couldn't do that if we only had that, hour at the end like we had before. Any other questions?
Yeah, I actually want to say I agree. That actually has been helpful. Closing a little early has definitely been helpful for both the weekend, and I can even vouch for the second for the evening shift on that. It's been a lot more helpful because that's the time where we use mainly to do like a lot of like misting and also taking care of all the restrooms around that time. So it's a good time when the people are not in the building. So that's all I wanted to say on that.
I have a question if that's okay.
You bet.
Yeah, go for it.
So what extra PPE are used for people like, let's say an office is shut down due to COVID and you wait 72 hours. Do the folks that do the cleaning have extra PPE?
One of the reasons we shut down is because that's the recommended from the CDC for that virus to die for us. And that goes for most any SARS virus. They go in, they double glove. Of course, we got masks on now. Everything is wiped down with that disinfectant. And like I said, the disinfectant we use is very quick acting. The reason we do that final misting of everything is so that dwell time is through evaporation. And that's what's recommended for anything that's hard to kill. So with COVID, it actually is pretty easy to kill with the soaps because it's a lipid. But we have to assume that there's other things going on in that office space as well. So we just try to keep everyone safe. As far as PPE, that hasn't really changed because our ES team has always been very good about their PPE usage. But the recommendation is to double glove when they're going in for that deep clean. They already have their masks on, and to make sure they're touching every surface with that wet wipe first. Did that help? Did that answer your question, Fran?
Yeah, it did. I was just concerned about people's safety. I wanted to know if they needed extra stuff or what was going on there. So thank you.
Yeah. No, the disinfectants that we use are very safe for human use, for animals, etc. The reason we go in and spray that is so that we can ensure that every nook and cranny has been disinfected, because you can't reach everything with a rag. Anything else?
There's some nice things being shared in the chat. So just want to make sure folks are brought attention to the chat as well. So thank you for sharing that out. One question that I have, and I just want to express my immense appreciation and gratitude to both of your teams and the folks that work at the LSC as far as keeping the LSC pristine and clean and ready for use, as well as for any and all quick or longer term maintenance projects that also take place. my question is, are there ways in which that other staff or students who are not on either of your teams can support you or be able to communicate different best practices to ensure that the work that you all are doing is not having to be re-replicated multiple times, or that it's not that potentially what I may be doing in the slice office if I'm spilling coffee or any of that, that I'm not causing more work for either of you or your teams.
Right. One of the biggest helps for the ES team, and this goes pre-COVID even, is to keep your area somewhat cleaned up. Don't leave food out. That's our biggest struggle, especially when weather starts turning cold. We get a lot of vermin in the building. It happens. It's the nature of the beast with being, 2 ground floors and all that kind of stuff. But that could be mitigated tremendously by not having food out in the open, especially like in the kitchenettes, things like that. I know people like to share, but put someone in charge to, put that away in a box or in the refrigerator or whatever at the end of the day. And that would help a lot. And just communication, as soon as you spill that coffee, don't be embarrassed. Things happen. I mean, whether it's, a biological, someone got sick, or if it was coffee or that blueberry smoothie on the carpet, don't be embarrassed about it. Contact someone right away, because it's so much easier to clean up when it's fresh. I know Kristy and I have had to have one of the maintenance guys come in and replace carpet because that stain got left because the person didn't want to own up to it. Put it in anonymous. Give us an anonymous call if you're that worried about it. But just that communication, keeping that communication quick and open.
I agree with Nancy too. If you can submit a work order or a service request, then we can make sure we're aware of what's happening in the building. We don't see a lot of areas in the building, so if there is something that you would like, if there's a stain on a carpet or if there's water on the floor or something, please notify us so then we can take care of it immediately.
Yeah, our building managers are a big asset to the ES and the maintenance team both. Many people will go straight to the building manager because they're not sure who it falls under, and that's fine. And the building managers are awesome with getting that information to us right away.
Ali, if it's okay, if I have another question for folks. Team, okay, I see the head nod there. Nancy, and you as well, Kristy, there's so many things that I think of that you do that we may not think of or be appreciative for. And you alluded to some of that, Nancy, just in the service that your team provides in giving directions and noticing someone who may be a little out of sync with what's happening in our community and needs some help. And I know I get notified of those all the time. There's one that I think is interesting for this group to know about, and that is you often are the first responders to graffiti and bias in the restrooms. I had the library reach out to me last week and say, Mike, what are you all doing? Because I think they look to what your team does as a model for the rest of the campus in terms of the cleanliness of our restrooms pre-COVID even, right? We always get high ratings there, but part of it is I responded, just the cleanliness of the restrooms is uninviting to the bias graffiti that you sometimes see. So maybe just talking through about your response to that, what you do, how you handle it, how others in the building can be helpful to you, so that it falls to all of us. So just your thoughts on that. It feels important for us to know and talk about it and understand your protocol.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, we have had some of that graffiti and flyers and things like that in the building, but we are very lucky that we haven't had problems that some of the other buildings on campus have had. And I think a lot of that is because our family there at the LSC, whether it's the ES team, the operations team, you know, somebody from Slice using the restroom, whatever, they report it right away. And that is, again, key, that communication. So if you see something that looks a little off, if you're using the restroom, you see a flyer that's like, you know, that doesn't look like it should be officially here, report it. My team has been trained to, every time they're in the restroom, whether it's to fill paper, soap, or to do a clean, they look for those things. They look for the flyers that have been placed that aren't sanctioned. They look for the marker, the paint, whatever. As soon as we know about that, if it's something, and we do have guidelines through the police department, if it fits those guidelines, then we make a police report. And usually that goes through Kristy, and an officer comes out, takes pictures, takes a report, and then we clean it up. If we don't have to make an official report, we make note of it, and then we clean it up. So we try to make sure that we're on top of that so that our customers, whether they be faculty, staff, or someone from the general public, don't have to see that. Kristy, you want to touch on what it takes on your end?
I was going to say, if you submit a service request on that, if you upload pictures, that's very helpful so we can see the exact location and see what it truly says. So then we know if we need to report it to the bias committee, if we need to get police involvement, depending on what it says and where it's located. But yeah, I think Nancy, you covered all of it. But again, everyone's help with the service request system, let us know what's out there so we can get it taken care of right away is extremely helpful. And so we appreciate everything that you do report, so we're aware of it.
Did that cover it, Mike?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right. Thank you. I'm kind of looking at the chat here. There's something about Pam and Candy. What's going on there? Oh dear. Feel free to unmute your mic if we missed your chat question or comment. I know we've got a couple of students here who have worked with ES and they were awesome and are awesome. Rachel is part of our team. Taylor is part of our team. And of course, Drell's one of our supervisors. So if you have any questions from their perspective, we'd be glad to take those too.
Another part I might comment on too is for the service request system. If you get into the system and you're not sure if it's a carpet issue or if it's environmental services, where that should go, feel free to just submit it wherever you think it falls in best, and we can change it if it goes to environmental services rather than our maintenance team. We can do any of that on our end. So, and some boxes do have places for comments, some don't. If you do want to comment and there's not an option for it, feel free to choose one of the options where you can place a comment. We can adjust it on our end as well.
Yeah. Just a quick side note, Ollie has been so gracious as to put up our attendance link. If everybody would click on that and put in their attendance, that would be awesome. Rachel, I saw you came onto camera. Did you have anything to add?
I didn't know if anybody mentioned it or not. Let's see, I think, yeah, I'm unmuted now. But sealed containers, like if you have like a box of donuts or something in like your office, the one thing I always saw when I used to like clean offices on night shift was that like donut boxes that aren't really sealed but are still kind of sealed, those tend to attract a bunch of different pests. So even if you have like a few Tupperware containers like in your office space that you're like, I'm going to put my unfinished food in here and seal it up, then that can help a lot with like minimizing rodents and other things that we don't want in the offices.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay. Sir,
I have another question, if I may.
you bet.
Well, I know, because sadly there are homeless people, and you had mentioned that sometimes your team is maybe first on the scene and making sure, because you're in an awkward position of taking care of the homeless person as well as the building. Is there anything that staff members can do to assist you in that?
Yeah, my team and and the maintenance staff also are often the first ones to come across someone who is loitering in the building, whether they're homeless or not. If they're sleeping, that's not allowed. We have a no camping rule, right? As far as to assist us, if you see someone sleeping, get a hold of the building manager, whether it's going to channel 1 on the radio and calling them or calling their phone number and just alert them. They'll come down and they will ask the person not to be sleeping. If it's something more serious, then we definitely want to get the building manager involved and they will take care of it from there. They're trained for that. Oftentimes my staff come across, whether it's homeless or someone who doesn't belong in the building after hours, and that's a different type of issue, but there's nobody else there, if that makes sense, Fran. But for the majority of the time, when most of the people here in this session are in the building, it will be when building managers are there, and that's going to be your first phone call.
Yeah, thank you. Because, my heart goes out to people who don't have places to go, but I also see the need for providing a safe place for the community as well.
Absolutely. Anything else? We're at about 1:20, so I think we're almost out of time. Am I correct, Ollie? Okay. Feel free to contact Kristy or myself. Feel free to flag us down in the hallway if you have any other questions. Otherwise, have a wonderful day, everyone. And don't forget to do the attendance.
And thank you to Kristy and Nancy for such a wonderful presentation and really for both of their teams on really keeping the LSC safe and clean and maintained and everything. So I just again want to say thank you and great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.